Good morning, I'm Gretchen Ho. It is a Thursday, the 5th day of June, bringing you Morning Matters because your mornings matter. Let's get to the stories that matter today. Senator Batau de la Rosa admits he authored the resolution to dismiss the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte. House members who pushed for the impeachment call this development at the Senate a nightmare, fearing it could derail the process. The House of Representatives has passed a bill granting a 200 peso daily wage increase for minimum wage earners. If signed into law, the measure will raise the minimum wage from 645 pesos to 845 nationwide. President Bongbong Marcos admits the public transport modernization program requires further review due to its financial impact on jeepney drivers and operators. He stresses the importance of a well-planned implementation to benefit all involved. Welcome to our program, Morning Matters, where we talk about the issues you need to know for the rest of your day. Now, first on the agenda, Senator Batau de la Rosa admits that he was behind the resolution seeking to dismiss the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte. Here is the report.
This was Senator Batau de la Rosa's reaction when asked about the circulating draft resolution to declare the de facto dismissal of the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte. Senate President Escudero was quick to deny of a document of that sort filed at the upper chamber.
Walang ganong uri ng resolusyon na final o pending sa Senado sa ngayon. Ano mang kumakalat na resolusyon na wala namang author na pinakita lamang din sa akin ng media ay ika nga mere scrap of paper unless may mag-file niyan.
But several hours later, Senator Batau is singing a different tune on where the resolution came from.
Galing yun. Galing sa office ko.
The draft resolution from De La Rosa's office cites how the impeachment case started by the 19th Congress cannot cross into the next. As Senate rules state, all pending matters and proceedings shall be terminated at the end of each Congress.
Merong open tatanungan, konsulta.
Tapos may nakuha na po ba kayo kung ilan ng susuporta?
Mamaya na pag sizable na yung number na sumuporta.
So far po, as we speak, mga ilan na?
Nasa draft. Kaya pinababasa ko sa kanila yung draft.
Ipa-file niyo po.
Titignan ko.
The staunch Duterte ally claims there are 3 similar draft resolutions circulating at the Senate. He doesn't know where this came from, but De La Rosa says he is willing to collaborate with the other authors to come up with the best version of the dismissed resolution. Senator Amy Marcos also confirmed seeing these resolutions. So did Senator-elect Ping Lacson, who said he got a copy from a Senate insider. He also revealed that signatures are already being gathered, so the issue can be debated upon and possibly adopted if it has the support of the majority. Senator Jingo Estrada also received a copy of the document. In fact, he says this has been in circulation as early as Monday, but he is not changing his stance.
It is our constitutional duty to hear the impeachment case against any impeachable officer.
Senator J.V. Ejercito echoed his brother's sentiment, while outgoing Senator Coco Pimentel called the resolution's logic flawed and its constitutional references inaccurate. Other senators, meantime, had this to say about the document that would outright dismiss VP Duterte's impeachment trial. For House members who impeached Duterte, this development at the Senate is nothing but a nightmare. Something that they were afraid will happen after the presentation of the articles of impeachment was pushed back from June 2nd to June 11.
Well, something fishy, no? Gumagante. May pinoproteksyonan talaga sa nangyayaring yan.
Paasa at gaslighting ang ginagawa na sa laban sa mamamayang Pilipino. Plenary is not supreme. The people are supreme.
Vice President Sara Duterte denied any knowledge of efforts to have the impeachment case against her dropped. However, she acknowledged that her camp is also questioning the continuation of the proceedings into the 20th Congress. Duterte also said she does not believe the process was postponed because Senate President Escudero is afraid of her. Akbayan Party List Representative Percy Sandanya had earlier claimed that this was the reason behind Escudero's alleged move to delay the Vice President's trial.
Sa pagkakilala ko naman kay Senate President Cheese Escudero ay hindi natatakot yon. We do not remember him I do not know him na natatakot na klase na politiko. Hindi ko lang alam saan nanggagaling yung sinasabi na takot si Senator Cheese Escudero.
Malacanang maintains that President Marcos will not intervene in Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the matter is already in the hands of the Senate. Castro also gave the same reply when asked about the supposed resolution seeking to dismiss the impeachment case against Duterte.
Kung matuloy po o hindi matuloy ang impeachment, mukhang hindi na po yan sakop ng ating Pangulo. Ang gusto lang namin pong parating, sana po ay wag ipahid sa Pangulo kung ano man po ang magiging desisyon ng Senado dyan.
Meanwhile, PNP Chief General Nicolas Torre III assures the public that due process and human rights will remain central to police operations amid the intensified government campaign against illegal drugs. Here is the report.
General Nicolas Torre vowed the police force's intensified campaign against illegal drugs will be carried out with strict adherence to legal standards and due process. The country's top cop also clarified his directive of more arrests. This is not a race for numbers, he says, but a call for greater diligence and efficiency. He tells police officers, make sure those who will be arrested are alive and will be able to defend themselves in court. Torre was reacting to the Commission on Human Rights concern that this marching order could lead to abuse.
Hindi lang yan para sa drugs, okay? Para yan sa lahat ng criminality. Priority, alisin ang kriminal sa kalsada. So kung may mga snatcher, tambay, mga nanggugulo dyan, hulihin natin, huwag natin pabayaan. Hulihin natin, dalhin natin sa husgado. Titigil lang tayo sa panghuhuli pag wala na tayong makitang kriminal.
Torre also welcomed CHR's reminder to avoid abuse, assuring the agency that due process remains at the heart of his anti-drug campaign.
Magtiwala po tayo sa proseso. Ito po ang nakasaad sa batas. Ito po ang susundin natin. Ito ang proteksyon ng ating human rights.
Aside from the CHR, Torre also responded to Davao City Mayor Sebastian Duterte's criticism of his appointment as PNP chief. The younger Duterte slammed Torre's promotion, saying it was not based on merit. Mayor Duterte also questioned how Torre managed to jump several ranks to become PNP chief.
Rewind lang ng konti sa termino naman ng tatay niya kung sino unang chief PNP. Okay? The first chief PNP of his father is a one-star na naging automatic four-star. Did he ask that? Did he question that?
Torre was referring to former PNP chief and now Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. He also addressed Vice President Sara Duterte's remark that his appointment is quote-unquote too sketchy. VP Saras cited alleged legal violations during Torre's time as chief of the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group when he served the arrest warrant on former President Rodrigo Duterte. Torre said he respects the Vice President's opinion, but findings of the Senate inquiry on the matter have already been submitted to the Ombudsman.
Again, I respect the opinion of the Vice President and the opinion of everyone regarding the things that we've done during the arrest of Mr. Duterte. The Senate committee is not a disciplinary machinery nor a court that can say if who is right and who is wrong, who is guilty and not guilty. So I think we will answer all those things in a proper forum.
For News 5 Caricator, we are One News.
Don't go away. We'll be back with more stories right after a short break. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. President Bongbong Marcos has retained Migrant Worker Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak in his cabinet. And for that, we have him on the show today on Morning Matters. Let's get his thoughts on the matter. We have Secretary Hans Kakdak. Magandang umaga po sa inyo.
Morning, Ms. Gretchen, and to your televiewers, good morning.
Okay, Secretary, unang-una, paano niyo po nalaman na kayo po ay retained at naiparating ba ng Pangulo ng personal ang mensahe sa inyo?
Well, similar to what Sec Vince Dizon had reported to the Commissioner Appointments the other day, I also received a call from Executive Secretary Bersamin, and of course had a chance to be in an activity with the President the other day, and last night as well with the Singaporean Prime Minister and a few other cabinet members.
Secretary, we had Secretary Laguesma here yesterday, and he said ang isa sa mga sinabi ng Pangulo ay dapat business not as usual.
Yes.
What was the mandate for you
Yes,
for the DMW?
Yes. Similar directive to business as usual, not business as usual, to heighten our ground work, our ground operations, in a sense that we should always be present for our OFWs and OFW families, to make our presence felt, to provide more assistance. We have an action fund to make sure that our action fund is well utilized and could afford the necessary protection to our OFWs, and to be there during their utmost hour of need, our OFWs utmost hour of need. And then of course the provision of assistance as well to their families. Yun parating ine-emphasize ni Presidente. Huwag kakalimutan ng OFW families, especially the OFW children.
Well, it has been 3 years under the Marcos administration, about several years of that under Secretary Ople, and then your term. What have been the achievements of the DMW so far that you would bring to the President?
Yeah, first and foremost, it would be setting up the department itself, diba? The President, before the Department on Economic Planning would always refer to us as the youngest department in the bureaucracy, and it's during his term that Sec Toots and myself have the responsibility to set it up, and indeed we put up the personnel. Over 1,000 already have taken their respective oaths to join us at the DMW. More than half of them, or at least just about half of them, are newly appointed, meaning they were not carried over from the POEA or the DOLE. And then, of course, we've been setting up our regional offices all over the country. That's the administrative side. Of course, there's also the OFW hospital, by the way, where we have regularized around 200 doctors and nurses working in our OFW hospital. And then, of course, we've been administering the Action Fund, the 2.2 billion peso Action Fund annually that provides legal, financial assistance to our dear OFWs. And indeed, around 135,000 OFWs have already benefited from this Action Fund, legal, medical, financial assistance to OFWs. We've also provided emergency responses. We had crisis responders in at least 2 of the biggest global armed conflicts in recent memory. So we have the civil war in Sudan, and of course the conflict between Hamas and Hezbollah and the Israeli Defense Forces in the Middle East. And the matter on the Red Sea, the attacks of the Houthis in ships carrying seafarers in the Red Sea. So we've been able to at least repatriate 3,000 OFWs from Israel, from Lebanon, from Gaza, and from the West Bank as emergency crisis responders ang MW at OWA doon. And then, of course, for the convenience of OFWs, the President visited that which he announced in his SONA last year, the OFW lounges, which had served at least 1.2 million OFW passengers already, provided comfort to OFW passengers, the NAIA OFW lounges in NAIA Terminals 1 and 3. And then, of course, the matter on the one-stop shop that was put up in our Makati office, which was also granted to us by the national government. So we're thankful to the President and the First Lady. And then, of course, the Cancer Care Center that was groundbroken by the President last year, and we hope to accomplish during his term. There are many other things that have been accomplished alongside, of course, our reintegration program. Together with the OWA, the reintegration programs have benefited around 60,000 OFWs, the joint reintegration programs between the DMW and the OWA. So that in a nutshell is what we've done. Of course, there are many more, especially with our overseas posts around the world. We opened 3 new overseas posts, so we have around 42 now, and counting. We'll open 6 more this year.
Mhm.
I forgot one more.
Yes,
Our
go ahead,
bilateral
go ahead.
agreements. So we have had around 25 bilateral agreements, arrangements, and discussions, and they're all moving forward, especially in Western and Eastern Europe and in the Middle East. We've maintained our strong ties with countries hosting OFWs there. I'm sorry.
On the other hand, we have Filipinos also getting deported back home, particularly, of course, in the United States, where they have started sending back Filipinos. Do we have an update on the number of Filipinos deported? At kamusta naman po kasi si DFA Ambassador Babes Romualdez said that he was advising Filipinos to lie low to fix their legal documents. So, kamusta naman po tayo doon?
Well, as far as I know, well, of course, we're monitoring the situation, and you're right. Ambassador Babes Romualdez takes the lead here as our head of post in DC. Thus far, we have not seen any such mass deportation of Filipinos, but we always stand ready. There are occasional cases of Filipinos sent home, deported, but not en masse, definitely. And we know for sure that Ambassador Romualdez is working closely with his American counterparts to protect our workers in the United States, as well as prepare ourselves adequately in the event that there will be such deportations.
Okay, but are we encouraging Filipinos to head to the United States? I mean, how is that going?
Well, of course, it's always been a Filipino's constitutional right to travel, to leave our shores, and of course, through proper legal channels, and so it pretty much stays that way every day. OFWs, of course, are always coming home and leaving our country. The cycle of being an OFW is such. So yes, it's pretty much every Filipino's constitutional right to travel.
Pero meron din pong nag-surface na issue brought up also by Ambassador Babes Romualdez, saying that some alleged illegal immigrants were brought to a third country like El Salvador imbis na ibalik sa Pilipinas. Would you know of that?
Yes, I heard that too from the ambassador. Of course, we take the signals from our good ambassador in Washington. So yes, we also support his call on the matter, the straight deportation, if you will, of Filipinos from the United States to the Philippines. But again, we this is all in the context of if indeed there will be such deportations.
In the midst of the immigration policies of the new Trump administration, what is the directive for the DMW on that? I mean, is it to help reintegrate the Filipinos back home? Ano po yung direction po ng administrasyon?
Yes, that's pretty much clear, and you're right. It's preparing our OFWs for reintegration. So we stand ready. We've always stood ready. We've been battle tested, so to speak, as I mentioned, in our emergency response situations. So our role is to assist in repatriation and receive our dear OFWs as they come home. Those who are coming home for good, and we have the necessary reintegration programs in place, financial assistance, as I mentioned, in place, unprecedented during the time of President Marcos, the financial assistance levels for OFWs who have lost their jobs and need to come home. So So we stand ready with that, and we're partnered as well. It's a whole of government approach with other agencies such as the Department of Health. And then for livelihood accessibility, there is our partnership with DTI and the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Tourism, among examples. And the TESDA, of course, we're also partnered with the DG Kiko Benitez and TESDA for those who would want to undertake certain skills trainings or upgrade their skills. So we stand ready to mainstream, once again, our dear OFWs, if and when they return home due to, for instance, deportations.
There is a proposal from Senator Tulfo to reinstate the ban on OFW deployment to Kuwait. Is that something that the DMW is looking at, or have things improved when it comes to the treatment of Filipino workers?
Yes, we've been working closely with the government of Kuwait in terms of undertaking reforms and measures to further protect our OFWs. So we've heightened our monitoring, which is one of the main points of the good senator during our hearing early this year, and we're due to set up. We have an electronic monitoring system for our domestic workers. We've also been conducting pre-flight briefings aside from the pre-departure orientation seminar. They literally come to our office here, the DMW, to conduct a pre-flight briefing to remind them of their rights and responsibilities and contact info in case they have problems and concerns when they get there. And we monitor them. We monitor their plight and their situation. And we're due to develop, to launch a monitoring center, a bigger and better monitoring center for our OFWs, especially those in Kuwait. So we've undertaken these reforms, and there are a few other steps that we will take. In due time, there will be a proper announcement for this.
When you say electronic monitoring, there is an app or a website they can report to?
We have their private recruitment agencies who report to us on a weekly basis about their plight, and if there's something that happens, for instance, an issue that is raised by our worker. So these reports come in, and we monitor these reports and act accordingly. But as I said, of course, there is also our helpline. We have a helpline that is shared by OWA with the DMW, the 1348 helpline. But as I said, we will take this a step further, and each time there will be an announcement on this new monitoring center that we will undertake.
Secretary, the DMW has also brought up the alleged 1.4 billion peso anomalous land deal by OWA's Arnell Ignasho. And he has actually responded to the allegation. Sinabi po niya, ito po, ang deal na ito ay present pa dun po sa technical working group na binuo nyo rin po ni Chairman Secretary Hans Kaklak na kaibigan ko, walang nakitang iniliban na hakbang. What would you respond to that?
My response to that is that technical working group was formed after the deed of absolute sale was signed. Tapos na po. At inilihim, isinikreto itong land deal na ito. Ang OWA kasi is an attached agency. No? It's autonomous to the DMW. That's according to the DMW law. Hiwalay po ang OWA sa DMW, although attached sila for program and policy coordination purposes. And I chair the OWA Board of Trustees. And it is the OWA Board of Trustees that is the highest policy making and checks and balances authority. Now, an OWA administrator does two things: welfare and pangangalaga ng pondo. In this case, pangangalaga ng pondo mula sa Kaban ng Bayan sa GAA. At hindi po dumaan sa board ang napakaraming bagay at meron sariling administration and finance management kasi ang OWA, so independent from the DMW. So lingid sa aking kaalaman, sa aming kaalaman sa board, pumasok siya sa deal with the realty company for a project na hindi rin niya pina-approve. Yung tinatawag na halfway house project sa board, and required yan under the OWA Act, the OWA Charter, which he is supposed to implement para dumaan dun sa board. And then yung pag-convert ng fund, kasi repatriation fund yun ginamit yung pambili ng lupa, yun dapat ay pumasa din dumaan din sa board. While checks and balances nga papayuhan siya, gagabayan siya, at kung okay ay approve. Pero hindi dumaan doon sa sa proseso na yun. Of course, yung bentahan, and then yung taxes, sabi dun sa deed of sale, ay sagot ng seller, and then after nagpirmahan, nagbagong isip, nagpirmahan ng panibago at nag-release ng 36 million dun sa attorney in fact ng seller, exempted ang OWA sa taxes under the OWA law. And then dun sa deed of sale, silent dun sa walang sinasabi tungkol sa kung meron bang umuupa doon. In other words, sinasabi doon sa deed of sale, walang umuupa doon sa lupa. Meron pala. Na-discover, meron palang fast food doon at saka cell site tower na pinauupa. And again, wala na namang pagpapaalam sa board yon. At yung nangongolekta ng upa after the sale is the attorney in fact. Siya pa rin ng seller. So nagtataka kami. And then lastly, merong 52 condominium units na kasama doon sa absolute deed of sale na sinasabing walang umuupa. Ngayon, dinemolish na yun. Nung pinuntahan namin, wala na yung condominium units na yun. Inilipat yung titulo sa Republic of the Philippines. So, nasaan na yun? Nasaan na yung mga condominium units na yun? So, maraming red flags. Yung OWA is independent of us. Yung administrator should have the necessary probity and integrity and the fiduciary financial responsibility na alagaan yung pera, yung kaban ng bayan, yung OWA Trust Fund, at mukhang hindi po yan nangyari sa sitwasyon na ito. Kaya kami ay in due time magsasampa ng kaso sa appropriate government agency.
Secretary, pwede po malaman saan po itong land deal? Itong halfway home?
Sabi niya ibibili niya for a halfway house. Itatayo niya yung halfway house o ano man. Pero yun, may comment na ako kagad doon kasi ang sabi niya, kasi bunso dito nung 1.5 million na OFWs na umuwi from the pandemic. Sabi ko, kung dumaan sa board yan, I would have commented na kung 1.5 million OFWs ang accommodate niyang halfway house na yan, hindi yan kaya ng gobyerno patakbuhin. Private sector yan ang dapat magpatakbo dyan. Pangalawa, kung halfway house talaga ang intention, bakit dinemolish yung 52 condominium units na may 52 condominium titles na inilipat na sa name ng Republic of the Philippines? So, again, these things are major red flags, and I needed to blow the whistle here as chairman of the OWA board.
And we will get down to the bottom of that investigation. In the meantime, maraming salamat. It is not business as usual for Migrant Worker Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak as he keeps his cabinet position in the DMW. Maraming salamat po for your time today.
Salamat, ma'am. God bless.
Stay tuned. Morning Matters will be back right after a quick break. Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. The House of Representatives has approved a bill seeking a 200 peso across-the-board daily wage increase for minimum wage earners. The measure passed with 171 votes in favor, while 1 voted against. If enacted, the legislation will raise the daily minimum wage from 645 pesos to 845 pesos nationwide, marking the first legislative wage hike approved by Congress since 1989. Labor groups praised the bill's passage but noted it falls short of their target of a 1,200 peso minimum wage. They also urged the president to sign the measure, emphasizing the shortcomings of the current wage board system. And to provide insights on the matter, we are joined by Sergio Ortiz-Luis Jr., President of the Employers Confederation of the Philippines and the Philippine Exporters Confederation Incorporated. Magandang umaga po.
Magandang umaga, Gretchen, at magandang umaga sa mga nakikinig at nanonood sa atin.
The legislative wage hike was approved on third and final reading, not just in the Senate that approved a 100 peso wage hike, but also in the House for 200 pesos. What is your reaction to that?
Well, I don't know why they even passed it. It's very political. Probably promises during the election and for the organization. But in any case, I think the president has already spoken about it last year when they asked the president to certify as urgent the bill that was passed by the Senate, and also now the lower house. They asked him to certify it. He did not. Instead, on the Labor Day, he announced that he is asking Dole to convene the Regional Wage Board, and so immediately, even before the anniversary date, so that it can act it during, I think, NCR is July, and they have been meeting already. They're going to do public consultation already, and that is why I was wondering. They put the president in the quadrant now. He's been advised by all his economic advisors since last year that the proper way to do it is really by regional wage board, simply because certain realities that all economists accept. No? And that one is mandated wages only affects 10% of the workers. There are 52 million workers, and only 10% are yung minimum wage earners. And if you make it across the board, which means even the managers, the vice president included, and those who will be affected by distortion, it will be about 60%. But the 84% are not beneficiary to this. The 84%, who are they? Many informal sectors, farmers, no employers, fisher folks, no employers, market vendors, tricycle drivers, jeepney drivers, all small business, family business. 84 to 90% will be suffering because of the yearly benefits we're giving to the minority. And it's nice to say that you will be increasing salary of the workers, but that is a small minority. The big majority will be the ones suffering. Why? Because in the formal sector, where they affect, there are only the 16%. 90% of that are micro industries. 8% is small, 1% is medium, less than 1% is the large. The large and the medium probably can afford it, but the micro, they cannot even afford sometimes to pay Christmas bonus. Sometimes every week, every month, they try to scramble to be able to pay the wages, and you increase them by what, 40%? There's no way. What will they do, or what will other enterprises do? Even the informal sectors, they will increase the price so that they can recover what was mandated wages increase. If the market cannot accept that price anymore, they will dismiss some employees, or and if they cannot do any of the two, they just close down, and that is what has been happening. You know, they have been saying that the regional wage board is giving minimal increases. You know, a few years back, they were asking 120 pesos wage, but every year the wage board, 17 regions, 16 regions, have been giving yearly increase from the lowest. In the past, we tried to attract investment by saying we have the lowest minimum wage in the region. Now we have the highest, simply because every year we give something. And the problem is, even if the legislators realize that it's not possible to do that, and it's not going to happen probably, because my feeling is the president probably will veto it if it reaches him. We have a lot of problems already encouraging investors. We're the last one attracting investors. And one of the biggest issue of investors is they cannot predict what our policies and legislations will do. They invest, and then all of a sudden, you change the rules, and the numbers are no longer profitable, so they don't invest. We are now the last one in investment in the region. The least number one problem really before was red tape. Now we're solving that because we have ARTA.
More expensive labor.
Yeah, expensive, not expensive, a reasonable labor laws.
But on the other hand,
for instance,
the living standard is at 1,200 pesos.
Well, imagine how many enterprises will be able to afford that? How many will close down? That's really, but that's nice. Politically, that's nice. Nice to listen to. People not knowing that everyone's way, and people not knowing that
correct, and this is happening amid a very complicated political scenario and with mounting pressure on the president, who will ultimately have to decide on that bill once it passes the BICAM. So I guess it is up to the private sector to convince the president to decide otherwise. But in the meantime, thank you so much for the comprehensive explanation on that. And your time and insights today. We have Sergio Ortiz-Luis Jr., President of the Employers Confederation of the Philippines and the Philippine Exporters Confederation, Inc. Don't go away. More matters to discuss right after the break. Keep it here on One News. Good morning, I'm Gretchen Ho, and here on Morning Matters, we talk about the most pressing issues and give you the context behind the headlines. Tensions heat up ahead of formal impeachment proceedings against Vice President Sara Duterte. As we already know, Senator Batau de la Rosa has drafted a resolution aiming to dismiss the impeachment case. It contends that the Senate's failure to act within the constitutionally mandated period effectively nullifies the case. The timing of this resolution is critical as the Senate's current session is nearing its end, with the next session not convening until late July. President Marcos, meanwhile, has distanced himself from the issue and previously called for political unity. Let's discuss that further with Attorney Michael Yusin, Senior Research Fellow at the Ateneo Policy Center. Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Gretchen, and good morning to all the viewers and listeners of the program.
Okay, Attorney Michael, siguro unang katanungan, no, ay maaari bang ma-dismiss ng ganun-ganun lang itong impeachment trial that is supposed to happen through a resolution? Your thoughts?
Of course, the direct answer is no. Hindi pwede. Hindi pwedeng mangyari yun. No? Kasi balik tayo dun sa ano ba yung impeachment. So impeachment is a constitutional process. No? That means the boundaries of the process itself is set by the Constitution. No? So sa Constitution natin, walang nakalagay doon na pwedeng i-dismiss ang impeachment complaint. In fact, very clear, ang nakalagay sa ating saligang batas is that once the Senate receives the articles of impeachment, trial shall commence forthwith, no? Immediately. So, dapat magka-trial. Hindi pwedeng outright dismissal. So, the Constitution, additionally, envisions only two outcomes, no? Either conviction or acquittal of the person impeached.
Walang dismissal.
walang dismissal na nakalagay dun sa ating saligang batas. So, direct answer is hindi pwedeng ma-dismiss ang isang impeachment complaint.
So mali itong sinasabi ni Senate Majority Leader Francis Tolentino that if the trial does not begin now, it would be functionally dismissed.
Yes, it has no legal basis at all. No?
Okay. But Senator Tito Soto has said that that he found out the impeachment has never been referred to the Senate Rules Committee. Parang inupuan ng inupuan itong impeachment articles na ito. How do we exact accountability in the Senate? Is the Supreme Court the only body that can hold them to that?
Actually, Gretchen, maybe the Supreme Court also cannot, no? Kasi itong impeachment is a very special or particular responsibility given to the Senate as the institution, no? And kumbaga relies on the leaders of the Senate and the senators themselves to do the right thing, no? Pero hindi ko lang sure if the Supreme Court can impose on the Senate the standards, no, set by the Constitution. But definitely, tayong mga botante, tayong mga mamamayan, we can exact accountability, no? Kung gusto natin, no? Given what the senators are doing now, no? Na obviously delaying the impeachment trial. So, on one hand, the Supreme Court might not have that power, but certainly the people, voters, have that power.
But there are already petitions before the Supreme Court looking at the jurisprudence of the Senate or the 19th Congress as a constitutional body being able to transcend into the 20th Congress. They're supposed to settle that. So pagdating doon, meron bang jurisdiction itong Korte Suprema? At hanggang saan? Ano yung limits ng kanilang power pagdating dito?
Yeah, that's a good question. No? So, yung issue na yon, Gretchen, that particular issue yung can the impeachment trial transcend or continue between Congresses, yan ay hindi malinaw sa Constitution. No? So, we have to admit that. There is nothing in the Constitution that rules on that issue. And therefore, the Supreme Court has the power to come in and say, what does the Constitution actually envision with regards to this particular issue? So nandoon yung authority ng ating Supreme Court to rule on that particular issue. No? But as regards yung other issues na binanggit mo kanina, first of all, that has to be brought to the Supreme Court. But second of all, parang ako, I hesitate to say that the Supreme Court can discipline the Senate regarding their behavior in this particular instance.
But what if there is no trial? It seems that senators, from an outsider point of view, are hesitant to put in their votes for either an acquittal or a conviction. What if this is dismissed? What could the public's recourse be?
That's the question, no? That's the interesting question. Kasi nung panahon ni Erap, yung impeachment ni Pangulong Erap, we know what happened, right? Nung hindi tinuloy yung trial, yung kinat yung trial, ano nangyari, di ba? EDSA dos, no? So, is that going to happen again here? That's certainly in the bag for our people, no? Sa ating mga kababayan, they can do that if they want to, or they can just remember what happened and then vote accordingly in 2028. Yan yung mga options na pwedeng mangyari if i-dismiss nila yung impeachment complaint.
Meron actually dalawang decision, no, that serves as jurisprudence dito for the Supreme Court. One is the Arnell versus Nazareno, saying that the Senate is a continuing body. That was in 1950. And the other one is Balag versus the Senate in 2019, saying that the chamber drops everything once it adjourns. Ano po kaya sa tingin ninyo yung magiging mas matimbang dun sa dalawa?
Well, ang pinakamatimbang siguro is yung another jurisprudence, yung Pimentel versus Joint Committee of Congress, saying na iba yung legislative function ng Senado, iba yung non-legislative function niya. No? So, yung sinasabi mong rules na everything ends once they adjourn sine die, that pertains to their legislative function, yung lawmaking functions nila. But their non-legislative functions, which impeachment is, it can carry over. No? It is a continuing responsibility because it is a responsibility given to the institution, not necessarily the senators who are elected at that particular Congress. So, I would say mas matimbang yung interpretation or yung ruling that the non-legislative functions of the Senate carries over between Congresses. Yun yung parang mas applicable dito sa particular issue na ito.
And does the Senate wait for the Supreme Court decision? How long do you think that would take for them to come out with that?
They shouldn't, no? They shouldn't. The Senate shouldn't. This is a failure of leadership in the Senate. The fact that they want to wait, or if they want to wait for the Supreme Court ruling, since there's no TRO anyway, because the Constitution is very clear. No? Trial shall commence forthwith. No? We are delayed by months already. February pa, dapat nasimulan na yung trial. No? So, the Senate, the senators, their leadership are all failing us at this particular moment because they are not following the command of the Constitution.
Well, sabi nga nila, meron daw mga urgent bills na kailangan mapasa. Kagabi, pinag-uusapan pa nila yung denatured alcohol. At the other day, yung MTRCB na parang, if compared to this, I mean, talagang napaka-urgent talaga, no? But, I mean, as an individual, is it just going out to the streets that is a recourse? Or is it possible to file cases against the Senate as a body or some senators?
Certainly not as the Senate as a body. No? I don't think there's a cause of action against the body itself, the institution itself. But certainly the erring senators, certain cases can be pursued against them, dereliction of duty, etc., etc. But that becomes moot. Eventually, it becomes moot, no, because of elections. No? So, really, the power of the people here is either through mass action or through the ballot.
And there needs to be enough public pressure to get these senators to proceed. Is that correct?
Dapat hindi ganun, no? Gretchen, dapat they should have done it on their own volition, no? Because the Constitution is clear, as I said. But as it is now, it seems na yung mga senador natin natutulog sa pansitan, kailangan talagang bulabugin, no, ng taong bayan, including you, media, us in the academe. We have to let them know na this is unacceptable, no, yung really brazen and continuing violation of the Constitution.
If and when the 19th Congress continues on to the 20th Congress and they start discussing this, I mean, is there room for question over the jurisdiction of the decision that will come about if this impeachment trial is held at sa dulo, no, maka-question din pala yung decision? Is there room for that?
I don't see any possibility for that, or any possibility of a success, no? Because jurisdiction is very clear. The jurisdiction is very clear, no? Kaya nga hindi pwedeng yung motu proprio dismissal na pinopropose nila Senator Bato, no? Because jurisdiction is very clear, and the order or the directive of the Constitution is very clear, which is to conduct the trial. Now, with regards to the decision that they will render, whether acquittal or conviction, the Supreme Court may not have jurisdiction over that, no? Because that is a very that the Supreme Court might treat that as a political question, no? Na labag na kami dyan, labas na kami dyan, unless of course there was really a brazen violation, no, of the Constitution in that decision itself. Pero if all the procedures were followed, due process was respected, the rule of law was respected, the decision might stand. Baka hindi makialam yung Korte Suprema doon.
Although, is it troubling? I mean, is it going to be difficult, rather, that a lot of Filipinos are not for this impeachment? They don't want this impeachment trial to proceed. Does that create a heavy predicament for this to, to have some sort of political pressure on the Senate?
It shouldn't, no? It shouldn't, no? Although, syempre, they should respect what the people feel, no? Pero the point to be emphasized here is that the articles of impeachment are already in the Senate, no? They've been presented to the Senate, and therefore trial must commence immediately. So, by the very fact that there's already a constitutional directive on the senators, that should be the only consideration in their minds, no? Hindi na dapat yung mga very political considerations, no? Although, syempre, in reality, those are there in their midst. No?
Well, the impeachment is also a political exercise, di ba? Sabi nga nila. It is more of a political than legal exercise, even if the grounds for culpable violation of the Constitution are there. But the other proposal is to finish this before June 30. Sinasabi ni Chief Escudero, hindi posible yun kasi merong 10 days na kailangan ibigay to respond. Anong tingin po niyo doon?
Yeah, just reading the rules of the impeachment, I don't think that's even feasible. And I also won't advise it kasi we're talking about a constitutional process here, no? Which means we have to respect the due process of both sides.
Of hearing out,
and
yes.
also the rule of law. Hindi pwedeng madaliin. Ayaw na nga natin na di-delay, pero hindi naman natin gustong i-railroad yung proseso, no? The point here is it has to be done. The trial has to commence immediately. Kahit na na-delay na siya for many months.
Kaya mukhang walang choice kundi tumawid, no, papunta sa susunod na Kongreso, and we will see what happens in the coming weeks, and if the senators do budge a bit on their stance. Maraming salamat for explaining things to us. We have Attorney Michael Yusin, Senior Research Fellow at the Ateneo Policy Center.
Maraming salamat.
And that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. We hope we've given you the right start to your morning. Let's go ahead and make the day matter. I'm Gretchen Ho. We're One News, all sides, all the time.